What's up, everybody? Welcome in to the PWTorch Fireside Chat. I'm PWTorch's editor, Zach Haydorn. That's Tyler Sage. Tyler, what's up, man?
Hey, not much. Good to be here as always, and excited to talk about wrestling and little.
All sorts of wrestling talk. I
Yeah.
actually have some news to tell you.
Okay, very good.
Some big show news that I didn't reveal in our production meeting, but we had a fan of the show create a new open for us. Just on a whim, was like, "Hey, you guys need a new open. I'm gonna make it for you," and so it's pretty cool. So next week, the big debut of the new PWTorch flagship Fireside Chat flagship open. It's pretty.
Do you want to give a plug to this person, or are they anonymous fan of the show?
I want to make sure it's cool to plug and hit, but so we'll see. But next week for sure. Next week.
Okay, we'll call them PWT Anon for now.
Yes, PWT and yeah, right. That's good. Oh God, I guess that's probably more offensive than than just revealing his name. But
yeah.
But,
well, there you go. You just dox
anything anon nowadays. I'm just like, forget it. Nope. I'm out.
Yep.
Oh man, well, dude, we've had a nice little run here of like regular wrestling news. No, Vince McMahon retirements. No, brawl for alls in the halls of AEW pay-per-views. Just some like actual wrestling to discuss. And so I'm not that the other stuff wasn't fun to chat about. It was, but it's kind of nice to just kind of go on a little bit of a run here and just talk wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ace Steel did get released this week per report.
He did,
so,
yeah. No, shockingly. I can't
believe. Yeah, he bit the dust, so to say. So, thanks for not laughing at that bad pun. But I'm very excited to talk wrestling, talk both companies. I know we're very AEW focused typically. Now we are 48 hours removed from their flagship show, not 18 or so. So excited to see how the discussion goes this week, and I am curious if anyone in the chat can hear the feedback on that.
Yes, if you guys are in the chat, Hazan, hello, Sean, hello. There's some technical issues today that we're working through. So if you do hear any feedback, can you let us know so that we can make some adjustments? And welcome, and thanks for being here, everybody who's joining us live. Appreciate it. So yeah, let us know. With that said, Tyler, I want to start off with MJF, because I did like a full 180-degree pivot like during Dynamite this week in regards to what MJF was doing. And so I'll start first, and then I'm going to throw to you and you kind of let me know where you're at, and then we can kind of talk like the future and where things are going. But so when MJF was having this promo with William Regal in the middle of the ring, and he's going through like his history and just getting that email and William Regal telling him no.
I just do the William Regal face reactions while you're talking about this. So.
Oh, that's what.
I decided my face.
Now you're intimidating me.
Sorry. Sorry.
I can't take it. I'm gonna have to go get my ring here in a minute. But I'm going through this, and I'm like, okay, this promo in a vacuum is tremendous, right? Like just the delivery and the passion and like the words themselves, the believability, authenticity. I mean, it's everything that you'd want in a pro wrestling promo on both sides. But I'm sitting there and I'm going, like MJF technically at that time, at that moment, is still this heel. He's still kind of at that point trying to like get under the audience's skin a little bit, but he's cutting what is amounting to a babyface promo, because there's just no, between the fans wanting to already cheer him and then that narrative of him, overcoming all of those obstacles to get to where he is. Like that's a real likable story and a real likable, character trait. And so I'm watching this thing and I'm going, man, like this is good stuff, but it's also like so ineffective, for what they're building towards in terms of MJF versus Jon Moxley, right? So a little befuddled, like when the promo's done, I'm like, God damn, that's some good stuff. But is it serving the product? Is it serving like the build to a pay-per-view? And my answer to that at that time was no. Fast forward to the end of the show, we'll get into Adam Page, I'm sure too, but that incident aside, MJF walking out there at the end and declaring like, "Hey, look, I'm gonna earn this. I'm gonna go about this the right way. I'm gonna win the title in Full Gear. You got 4 weeks. That I thought that was like masterclass storytelling, provided he turns babyface and is gonna have a run as a babyface champion in AEW, because I think that audience at Full Gear is going to be just salivating at the notion of seeing MJF win the title. And I think that promo, or like the closing angle of the show this week, and him, earning it, right? That is like finally for the first time just giving the fans the permission to cheer him openly. I don't think at that point those cheers are going to be running counter to whatever story they're telling, as long as they go forward with him as a babyface. So if that's the end game, I think what they have here and what they have going here is really strong. And it could really just help the company a lot to finally get it on the back of MJF as a strong babyface that people want to get behind. So I was really high on this. But I think, but depending on how things go at Full Gear, I could also turn and be really, really low on this as well. But I think the only option here is to go forward with MJF as a babyface. That's my take. I loved it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up Sean's comment here because it's kind of I agree with everything you're saying, but this is my back of my head worry is it's gone. Is that right? I agree with everything you're saying. It's the thing that makes the most sense. I'm sitting there watching even before the promo at the end of the show, which seems now is if Hangman, he got a concussion, hopefully he'll be okay. If he is okay, this is all a happy accident, because I don't think that promo was supposed to happen, at least given that much time. Maybe it was. But anyway, as I'm watching the first promo, in my head, the thing going through the whole time is, oh, thank God, they are like not going to push back against this MJF getting trying to just calling everyone a lard ass for 10 minutes in every promo to get heel heat. And we're going to just steamroll with what is obviously what the fans want, and not do the WWE thing of 2015, 2016, or the whole Cena era or whatever. So I mean, it seems pretty obvious that's what they're doing. I think Eric Kroll, our friend here at the Torch, I don't know if you saw his series of tweets after the show where he kind of laid out 3 things that could happen. I think you answered it even, so I'm sure you did see it. But he had some good ideas. There's like one good heel and one good face and one bad heel. And I'm worried that, this could all be leading to MJF losing to Moxley at Full Gear because he didn't use underhanded tactics, and then him doubling down on the heel tendencies to get the belt. I think that'd be the worst case scenario. So, AEW, as Hazan has said here, you kind of don't know who's a face or heel week to week on the show. That's a problem. And with MJF himself, it feels like with this character, it seems since the Yuta stuff where he was mad that Stokely came in and attacked Yuta, really everything post hitting Tony Schiavone seems like there's been a pivot with his character that MJF has done himself. So I guess my answer to you is yes, I agree with you fully. Him being a babyface at the end of Full Gear is what makes the most sense. Moxley can go and take some time off and come back stronger and better than he was before. And that all makes sense, and have a hot babyface for essentially 2 years, or, a year and a half, whatever. And go from there. But there's that part of me inside that does not trust AEW / Tony Khan / MJF to tell a straight line story there. And I feel like there's another thing here that will be newsworthy and exciting in the moment, but is not good long term. I think AEW's not been hot-shotting a ton and not being Swerve centric. Not Strickland, that is, but the Russo Swerve centric there. And it just has made some decisions that are not the greatest long term, as you know very well, Zach, as you bring up on a weekly basis. So I think it's straight line and it's MJF as a babyface, but I think there's a good chance that there's some effery, if you will, some F-wordery that could happen. Chicanery, I should say. But yeah, so that's kind of my rambling point.
That would be a shame. I mean, I really think that would be a shame. Like more so than, more so than other misses that they've had. And there hasn't been a ton of them, but not capitalizing on FTR, right? Like that's one that sticks out. And you're not going to hit on everything. Like you're just not, because you just, you don't know. You do the best that you can, and then you try to put the pieces on the board to make the most sense and make the most money and just create stars. But this is, I look at this and I don't want to be over dramatic like about this, but like AEW needs this. I think they really need this moment with MJF to work out in the biggest way possible. And I really don't think that that's a double down on his heel character. Look, we've been there before. We've been there. We've done that. We've seen the MJF heel shtick. I just don't see, I don't think he can't go back to that at this point. He's too big of a star. He's too much fun to watch. And he kind of not ruined that, but he threw that heel character off course with the promo after Double or Nothing, like period. And then he left. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, comes back, big pop. Like we know the story. Now you have an opportunity to really like create your first big star and then ride that star. Like, yes, Jon Moxley was a big star, but you brought him in. CM Punk, big star, you brought him in. Adam Page, you built him up. But I don't think I think there was a time there where I think his momentum was close to what MJF is right now, but I don't think it was higher than that. So you have this confluence of events that's going to bring you to, hey, we need to crown this guy. And if you don't do it in favor of some weird thing that like just swerve to swerve, I mean, I think that's a very, very big miss that will hurt things for quite some time, to be honest. I think they gotta go with this, and hopefully the veterans in the locker room, like Chris Jericho and MJF himself, are just like, hey, look, it's time. And so if that means beating Moxley clean, I mean, that's what it means, I think you just got to go strike when the iron's hot.
Yeah, I think so too. And as we've talked about a lot in the recent weeks, the show's been built around your Jerichos, your Moxleys, your Bryan Danielsons, which has been needed post Double or Nothing and all the shenanigans there. You need to have a firm base of, hey, this is what AEW is. This is the solid ground. But it has sacrificed some Garcias, some Wheeler Yutas, some Darby Allens along the way here. And I think that there is, the biggest one of them all being MJF of the homegrown talent since the start of the company. You can have him get the win on one of these guys that are a solid base here, just from a has to happen situation. But yeah, I mean, it makes too much sense not to happen. It just, I think as we would have said with WWE's at certain points in history, I think we trust Paul Levesque and the way WWE's book things, especially with top tier stuff with Roman Reigns. We trust that whatever there is, they get the benefit of the doubt, and AEW's lost that in this top tier thing. So I think it's fine that we're all skeptical of it, and we want to be proven wrong. I think we all want to be proven wrong. I think you probably like if you had to align it, like what is your like what percentage are you putting on MJF wins as a babyface at Full Gear?
What percentage of what
yeah, like worth like if you had to, are you putting like, what do you actually think? Not know what you think should happen, what you think will be on your screen at the end of that show. Like, what percentage chance do you think it working out the way you think it is, or the way you've laid out, I should say?
I'm more optimistic. I'll say like 80%, just because I can't see you missing on this. Like, I just can't see you missing on it. So I'm going really high. I think that they know what they're doing. I think that they're and they're gonna go there. And so that's my take.
Yeah,
How much lower are you?
I'm probably like 55, 60. I just,
Okay.
I try not to, the George W. Bush quote, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, won't get fooled again.
Oh my God. That was a thing that was actually said out loud.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's when the quaint times of like 2005 or something in our politics here in the United States. But anyway.
I got you, Sean.
Yeah.
Don't worry. 80%.
Yeah. So, I hope you're right. I just think that I just don't have the benefit of the doubt of streamline booking there. And that is on a Tony Khan basis and an MJF basis. Like, MJF is like so into this character, you can tell. And he's like spent obviously time honing his body. He looks like $1 million and honing like what he wants this persona to be. So if that is, hey, I still want to be a heel no matter what. And this is the best way to get people to think, hey, now I'm going to be the baby face that they all want me to be. And then I'm going to turn on them and rip their hearts out at the last second. I just think that is on the table for him to want to do. And for Tony Khan to think there's money in that, to have him be the heel that people are chasing at that top spot. So I think it's better for the character and the company long term. We've seen with Moxley that, having a strong baby face at the top can work. It's not everyone is, you've had your babyface has been Moxley and Adam Page have been your two babyface runs thus far, or three, if you want to say long-term runs. And, I think if you ask Tony Khan, he probably prefers having a heel at the top of the card. So that's kind of where my mindset goes for what he prefers and how he likes to book the top of his company.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we'll learn a lot in this instance, because it's like, in pro wrestling, timing is everything. Like, it's a lot. Like, that you gotta hit on things at the right time, and to speak positively about AEW doing so is, this stuff with the Acclaim, right? I mean, you hit and you go, and now you have a big act. But, and I don't want to like compare this to I'm not comparing the star power here when I make this analogy, but it's like, if you choose not to go with Steve Austin after Austin 316, like, you could have just kept him on the same path and just, you're not going to put the shirt out. You're not going to do any of that. Right. Obviously that would be a huge mistake, because you could sense at that time, the momentum was there, Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania, right? You could have easily just not done that, but you got to recognize what's going on. Timing is everything, and you go with it. And I think that this is one of those moments for AEW. Like, they have something here. And so I hope I just can't see them being that dense and that stubborn to miss on it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I guess I just tend to, it seems so obvious. That's kind of why I want to swerve and think like, hey, there's something there. And it just really depends. I think this really is depending on like the Tony Khan and MJF relationship, right? If you're Tony Khan and MJF, if you're not re-signed and you want to give him basically whatever he wants in this position, I think he's not as malleable as he was in the past. I think he's probably learned from giving too much power to his performers, but I think he's obviously prone to that still. And if this is really what MJF wants to do and do this crazy double turn and be the ultimate heel, I think he would allow that, as opposed to telling him like, no, you're going babyface. So
see, like, I don't know that if they do the swerve, right? I don't know that that's like, I don't know that you get like a really hot heel MJF. I just think you get a watered down MJF that you have right now. We're of this audience that wants to cheer him, that's been screwed over like again, and it's just, everything's just a little colder. I mean, I don't think you have this like hot. heel act in the waiting if this happens. You know what I mean? Like because sometimes if you swerve, then it's like, wow, like, you know, Rock Survivor Series 98. You know, you got this scorching hot heel. You know, I don't think that would be the case in this instance.
For sure, I agree. And to be very clear, like I want him to go face. I want this to be a pretty straight line of maybe William Regal tries to hit him with the Nux and Moxley's pissed and is, you know, you can protect Moxley in some way in the main event and do that, but have MJF win still as a good guy and go from there. And as you know, I think, you know, Sean in the comments said that Austin was the ultimate tweener, and I think MJF can be that, right? Like he needs someone to be
in a different way.
Have that righteous anger, you know, instead of just regular anger. But like if you can do someone like that, and I'm not saying Tony Khan comes out and tries to screw MJF here at the end. I mean, that's way too on the nose.
Oh God.
But you know, if there's someone for him to be going up against and kind of being the AWA, like if you know, and that's in the fantasy booking territory, but just saying if Punk and the Elite can come back, and Tony Khan doesn't want to just pay Punk he doesn't want to pay him millions of dollars to sit at home, and he's like, no, you're coming back. Like, what better person to kind of defend AEW than MJF against CM Punk? And
that would be, that's money.
It writes itself. It's money. You can kind of get Punk back on track if that is going to be the case. You know, I'm not saying none of this is reported. I'm just speculating, like best case scenario, and that can give that righteous anger that MJF has, and kind of not being the legend killer, but being people that said he was nothing and go on kind of like revenge tour and have the crowd be behind him the whole time. Makes too much sense not to happen. I'm just trying to mentally prepare if this is a disappointment. But I agree. Like if we're at Full Gear, MJF and William Regal turns on Moxley and hits, you know, Moxley with the steel knuckles, and then MJF hits him with the diamond ring and pins him, and he's out there and he's the devil all along. Like it's a moment, but I just, you know, we're going to be right on because when's that? It's like a week before Survivor Series, right? Is this show? So like, and then we have let's say we have an awesome War Games, and we're leading to some great stories into WrestleMania. Like you're really at the point where even the people that have been AEW's better product in ring and has at least even storylines, you're turning from that point where it feels definitely like a secondary promotion from the top of the card and how they present things. And how you can't trust it. So not to be that hyperbolic, but like I think it's important to not F this up, basically.
No, it is. No, I don't think you are. I mean, look, AEW has been needing and looking for like a big time homegrown star. And if they can do this the right way, I think MJF becomes a bigger star than any babyface that they've had, even Moxley. I think, you know, at this point, if they can do it right. So I do think it's important. It's a big angle, and if they get it right, I think they'll have something. You know, they'll have some renewed momentum. Some stuff in the chat here is in regards to who does he work with. Well, it's a good question, but the fact that we don't have an answer to that, in my mind, is not it's not, oh, you don't do the MJ, you don't go with MJF as a babyface because you don't have anybody lined up. You just get somebody lined up. Like it's pro wrestling. Like, so pick a heel, go with it. Like whoever it is, I don't know, Aleister Black or who, I don't know. It doesn't matter really who it is. But you got to pick somebody because you don't really have that person in the waiting in the wings. But there's what, probably November, December, January. There's like 3 months or so in between Full Gear and the Revolution pay-per-view, probably a little bit longer than that. So you have time to get that heel in place. But to me, it's, you know, you just make sure you get a heel ready, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, I would like on the road there, you're going to have him defend a couple times as you do for a big branded show.
Yeah.
This is like an ideal standpoint, but kind of what I was talking about CM Punk thing. Like, I would definitely have MJF defeat Sammy, Andrade, and CM Punk if CM Punk was available, like in Eddie Kingston. I'd probably have everyone involved in all the backstage shenanigans and have MJF kind of be the sheriff and like you take the L. Yeah. And I think, you know, as Hazan said there, MJF and Eddie Kingston, I mean, Eddie can be whatever he wants to be, but AEW has shown the proclivity to be like, hey, 2 faces, 2 heels, whatever. It's going to be an awesome thing. I mean, most CM Punk things, it was not against MJF. They were face.
Yeah.
At pay-per-views. So like even that as like a pay-per-view match, I think works tremendously. There's lots of people that are talented. And that's the positive of AEW is that you don't have, WWE is much more structured where like, hey, you're a top 3 heel, so you have to go against the top 3 face at the time. And it's, pretty much like you have magnets on a board and you kind of move them around. And AEW feels a little bit more fluid, like, hey, this would be cool, so let's just figure a way to get there. Yeah. So I think MJF in that spot works better in AEW than if he was if he was taking on, I don't know, Seth Rollins, because they're the top guys on each of their heel face positions. So.
I agree. I agree with everything there. And this thing, Sir Fark jumping in here, like Christian, that as long as that's not your like Revolution main event, you could throw that on TV and have that.
Yeah, for winter is coming. If he's healed up, exactly. Like that could work.
Yep, so. For sure. You can put that on and then, and go with that. And then you get into like the Sammy Guevara's like obviously MJF would just dust that guy and like nothing. But my point is that they're gonna have to work at building up a heel. That's or just another big star that's ready to take him on. I'd go heel, but you don't have to do that either. Yeah. So they're at an interesting time. They're at an interesting time here, and I think it's you still need stars, and I'm in the position of like, if you're coming out of Full Gear and you're going into Wednesday's Dynamite, and you've got a newly crowned babyface MJF champion, like I think people are going to watch that. People are going to want to see that, ratings wise, and that to me pops a rating. Another like gotcha promo, like that, like we've been there, done that. So it's interesting. It's really interesting, and I say all that to say, and MJF. I mean, I think everybody, you knew he was a strong performer, right? Like you knew right out of the gate, like, all right, this guy has something, because he just always had this strong reaction from the audience. And I just find it fascinating that we're 3 years in now, and because of circumstances in and out of Tony Khan's control, the game around MJF has changed completely, and he's sitting there ready to be this breakout guy. And you kind of point out, all right, that person's got it. That person's got it. I think this person's ready for big things, but I don't know that I ever pictured MJF as like top babyface of your company. And I think that they're on the precipice of that, which is pretty damn interesting.
Yeah. I mean, and there's some, not everything of, like, let's take a Bruce Pritchard quote, for example, right? He's talked about The Rock before. And, when he was the hottest heel that he was, that was the time to turn him, to make him the hottest baby face in the company. Yeah. And I'd say I agree with everything Bruce Pritchard does, but that is like a very old school wrestling mindset of you get someone at like the peak of their power, and that's when you flip it, because that's when it's the most effective, right? You look at, Seth Rollins, again, he's just on my brain for today, but like him and the Shield being the peak that they were of baby faces, and then him turning on the group is why it's still an iconic thing 10 years later. Yep. Because that's when it works, not when it's Daniel Garcia or Big Show or, Mark Henry or someone that has switched 75 times within, a Braun Strowman. Like, is he a face heel? It doesn't even matter at this point, because he just does what you need to fit the story. Yep. It is one of those moments where it's a little slower of a build. It's not a sudden turn, but it's kind of hard to do a sudden face turn, compared to a sudden heel turn. So, I agree 100%. I think he can do it. I would probably, we can't go back and litigate this, but I thought he was always had the potential to be a big star. And I think to be a big star, you have to be both a good babyface and a good heel. There's very few people that are, think of an all-time great, and were they only good at one thing versus the other besides John Cena? Who knows? And he obviously would have been a great heel. So I think that's why he fits into that legendary status as well. So I guess Steve Austin, he wasn't a good heel at a certain point, but he was a great heel before that, before he was, that sometimes you can't come back. Right. So, yeah. So I think he can be as well. And I would have probably had more optimism that he could 2 years ago, but yeah, here we are, and we'll see. It'll be, MJF face watch for 4 weeks, and curious to see how his promos. Right, he's got 4 weeks, right, or 3 weeks, something like that, of building this up, and how does he discuss this? How does Moxley discuss this? Do they try and make Moxley a little rigid to signal something? Do they have Regal take the heat? I'm all interested to see all those things that happen.
Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, like you can really you can really, if you wanted to put him over, like in the biggest way possible as a babyface, you could have Moxley like shake his hand in the middle of the ring, like at the end, that protects Moxley. I think if you do that, it also really launches MJF as a well. I don't think it launches him any more than he would already be, but it just clearly defines him as, okay, now if there's any doubt, babyface. Mm-hmm. Want to get into some of the chat comments here. I figured this would be a MJF heavy show because he was a key, a huge part of Dynamite on Tuesday night. So I don't know. I think Steven, you make a good point. Just collectively, in terms of just AEW in general, sometimes they've done away with the rankings, which is good. In this instance, I'd push back on your criticism here a little bit because in this case, MJF, like, even if it was like the most shenanigan or effery laden ways to do it, he won this opportunity. He won the casino ladder match. So it doesn't really matter, how many other matches you win. If you win that one, you can cash it in and get a title shot whenever you want. So in this instance, I think they're protected as far as what you're talking about, Stephen, but that doesn't mean that problem doesn't exist around the company, because I think it does. Are you okay with this, Tyler?
Yeah, it's for the greater good. I think, like, I was always thought the ranking system was relatively stupid. I think and that felt more like a Cody thing to start. Like, he wanted to bring in like the analytics and be like, hey, this guy like submits you when you're in this position 82% of the time. Get like the whole like sports gambling and all, like, PFF for pro football, like all those intense stats and deep analytics and plus minuses and things like Cody. That. Yeah. He was the one that talked about it a lot at the beginning. And, that's gone away. It definitely, like, I don't know if the elite guys or Kenny were very much for the rankings because they dropped as soon as they were out of the picture. And maybe Tony Khan has always felt that. And he's like, hey, this is the time to rip the Band-Aid off here. Like, if you want, Steven, if you want a press release of like Tony Khan, like president, CEO, visionary, illuminary, gift from God, whatever other title he has, on those company letterheads, it's you just say like, hey, the rankings were stupid. The sports like feel talk was too much in the beginning. We're a wrestling company. We're doing normal wrestling things. I think that's what they're doing now. So I think that's good long run, and I don't have a problem with it whatsoever.
Yeah. I don't either. And I think Azan, MJF doesn't do a lot of matches because what we've seen of him so far is he's a heel. He's a conniving heel that, part of the gimmick is that he doesn't wrestle a lot, but he, thinks he's this, tremendously great wrestler, and he wins. And so I think in a storyline sense, that's what we get. In a meta sense, the more he's special. Like when he wrestles, like it's a big deal, and it does pretty good business for AEW. If he's going to be a babyface champion, he's going to have to wrestle more. So I think we will see him in the ring more often than we do now, if he turns babyface. But that's why he doesn't wrestle as much, because it makes sense for the character and for just the business of the character too.
Well, yeah, and you got to also think that he's a pretty smart guy, and the less you wrestle in your 20s is the more you can wrestle in your 50s.
Yeah,
I think he would like to wrestle for a long time and make a ton of money. Because if the top wrestler's making what's Roman making allegedly, like $4 million a year, something like that.
Yeah.
So thinking 20 years with sports and then wrestling are like it, unless it's breaking news, a hurricane, an award show. That's the only thing's getting ratings on television. Like you could be making $40 million a year in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. I mean, that's
just preserving your body within character, I think, is a very smart move. And I think that cannot be undersold. That MJF's a pretty smart guy.
All right. Let's a couple other Dynamite topics. Well, first, collectively, we had the Wednesday night wars moved to Tuesday night. And we had AEW win in total viewership and also with the demo. However, what the nuance that I found interesting was the NXT number didn't crater out as badly as the AEW number did. And so I find that interesting. And I know that they're the show that's moving nights. So you're going to have a drop in viewership. I guess I was more interested. What I found more interesting was less about AW losing some viewership, but that NXT apparently has some kind of like passionate 600,000-ish viewers that watch no matter what the hell else is on, because it had a lot of other competition. The first night of NBA basketball, Major League Baseball playoffs. So, it had a stiff competition, but still didn't lose all that much. So I found that to be pretty interesting. And they didn't have a great lineup in NXT either.
Yeah. I'm curious. I don't follow NXT ratings a ton. I got it pulled up here. They did a 0.18 on the key demo. And AEW did a 0.26, which is like 7 off, 6 off, 8 off, something like that of their normal. I think they're at usually 30, 31 or 32. So do you know if that 0.18 is a normal NXT number? I know like SmackDown will do like a 0.55.
Yeah, so that's up. It was up over prior week, which was 0.15.
Yeah.
So, it's
probably a little flipping, right? On when you're watching AEW, you're probably going to check out NXT. That's what I do when I'm watching AEW on Tuesday. Also, I mean, this is anecdotal, so don't. But like, I didn't watch it live because like I kind of build my life around making sure I'm home Wednesdays at 8 to do the report and talk about and all that stuff. And I watched it later, which is probably not involved in that number too. So that's not everybody, but I think the key demo is where you see that there. And yeah, the main thing, the good takeaway positively is there's like 600,000 people that are watching NXT no matter what every week.
No matter what, yeah. I just didn't think that was the case. The case because I mean, and they had main roster talent, but but nobody that like I don't know moves the needle really. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, defend this because Carl Anderson was on the show, so
that is not true. He is not a draw. But I mean, you had Kevin Owens there.
Yeah,
they announced him. But again, I don't know. I guess it's not like he was wrestling.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Yeah. No, I think that's the positive there, and a night switch. Yeah, that almost 25% drop off feels like a little high to me, but also from what was announced, like you could announce like, hey, there's going to be a amazing promo and face turn by MJF. You can't really promote that sort of stuff. So when you had Dalton Castle and Jericho, and I mean, you had Paige and Moxley, which had a good build the week prior, but I cover this, on the site, and I do a show about it every week here on YouTube. And I literally last week watching Dynamite, I was like, oh, it's on a Tuesday. Oh, okay. I'm glad they said that. Like, so it just is what it is. Like, people are busy, and there's a lot going on.
And I don't think that's what I mean. Like, to me, the takeaway isn't so much, AW lost 26% of their audience or whatever it was. It's more so, really, there's 600,000 people that watch NXT every week. Interesting, very interesting. Okay. Is it a hot take? I don't think that's hot of a take about Carl Anderson, but okay. I'll own that. Yes, I don't think Carl Anderson's a draw. Hot take it up. Tracy, great. Go ahead.
I want to keep on this because now we're on it. So if let's say Dayton, Ohio, you know that city, right, Zach? I assume if you do, then most people do. So it's like the 75th biggest city in the country, right? They have a local indie show. Carl Anderson is announced. How many tickets is he selling for being at that indie show that's announced a month?
How many more tickets?
How many more? Yeah.
None.
I don't.
No, I mean, I just like
I mean, I agree with you. It's just funny to watch you process and be like, "Oh, wait, no, it's zero."
Yeah, no, none. Yeah, none. No. Okay. No more. Is that a thing?
No, I don't. I was gonna say I don't have any actual stats to back this up.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was like, where can I watch Carl Anderson on Rockstar
show? Rockstar Pro. Shout out to the Dayton Indie here.
Shout out to Rockstar Pro.
There you go. So there you go. Yeah, I think everyone's in on the joke with you here in the comments. But yeah.
Gets floss. You guys kill me. You're killing me. All right. All right, Joel, really. How dare we sully the world title caliber holder, the prestigious never open weight title, the Machine Gun Carl Anderson. Hey, the guy is a good. Here's the biggest backhanded comment or compliment at wrestling. He's a good hand. But that's
just wait till either of us interview him, and when he's released from WWE here at some point, and we'll act like we never said this. But he is the second best machine gun in American pop culture, I would say. So
yes. Oh gosh. All right. Well, I want to go back to Tracy's comment here because I think it's just interesting. Tracy, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for dropping the question. And how many viewers do you think watch both NXT and AEW live that had to then choose? So interesting question. If you watch both, like, wouldn't you watch? I just think that the lineup for AEW was stronger than NXT, So to me, it'd be a no-brainer that you'd choose AEW. But I'd say that there's probably, I mean, gosh, like if you're watching NXT, if you look at like the ratings, like they secure like a portion of the audience that's older, so they do skew more older than AEW does with Dynamite. So I don't know. I'd say like, God, less than half is what I'd kind of say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's significantly less. I don't think there's a huge crossover between people watching both. That's probably my own bias is taken in there. But I think if you don't subscribe to a great wrestling website like PWTorch, if you're not like that involved as a fan, I think there's people that kind of decide one or the other. And I think you hit the nail on the head, Zach. I think it's an age thing. I think if you're like 20, 30, early 40s, you're probably AEW and some portion of WWE. And if you're over 50, you're more likely statistically to be Raw, NXT, SmackDown, and then know what's going on in AEW, but maybe not watch it very often.
Yeah. Well, and just the fact that like, I think there's probably something going on with NXT too, where it's like, okay, if you're a WWE fan, you watch WWE and you're like a diehard WWE fan, okay, maybe you'll check out the WWE third brand, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you're not then watching AEW.
Yeah. You feel like you're going to see the stars of tomorrow in NXT more so than AEW because there's like that, again, there's bias both ways, right? Like, I don't think on NXT I'm going to see many future stars of AEW or WWE for that point for a vast majority of that roster, but at least the way it's currently constructed. But it feels where, the reason I don't watch Dark and I only watch Rampage for contractual reasons here at the Torch, right? If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be watching Rampage. I'm just being honest with you right now. That's how I feel like NXT is that it's like I could listen to a recap or follow it in some other way, but it's almost entirely.
Well, and then if you hear about like, oh, there's this badass match in NXT that you have to see, then you can go find it. You can go watch it. That's kind of how I am. I mean, watch contractual obligations, so I do watch Rampage. But if I wasn't, that's what I would do. I would just pick around social media. Oh, okay. I got to see Jon Moxley versus Wheeler Yuta. All right. So I'll go and watch that. I can see people doing the same thing with NXT, although it's been slim pickings in terms of matches that have created that kind of buzz on that show. And I think, let's just say 3 years ago, pre-pandemic, with a NXT special coming up in 2 days, everybody would be jumping at the opportunity to preview that show and talk about it and chat about it. And now it's like you got Halloween Havoc coming up, and it's kind of like, yeah, okay, that's there. I'll get to it if I get to it, but it just doesn't have the buzz, nowhere near the buzz.
Yeah. So it's like last week, I did the preview show last week for Friday. We talked all Bray Wyatt, no Rampage whatsoever. And that's because the Bray Wyatt stuff, and it turned out to be good. But that was way more interesting than whatever's going on Rampage on Friday. So this is just more consequential.
Yeah. Joel, I'm glad that you have functioning hips. That's good. That's good. And you're an NXT fan. I don't hate the NXT 2.0 product. But I also watch it with a certain through a certain lens of like, I'm very honest with myself in terms of what I'm there for and like what I'm going to get out of it. And I think if you have the right expectations, it can be a decent watch at times, especially with the talent that is going to come up to the main roster. Carmelo Hayes,
Roxanne already came up for
Braun Breaker. Roxanne is up. Like, some of those talents. It's when you go further down than that and you're watching somebody like Tiffany Stratton and you're just like, oh Jesus, like this is not good. Like this is not good enough for national television. So there's just such a wide range of talent on that show that some of it's hit, some of it's really, 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 really big miss. Okay. I want to jump back because if you don't mind, Tyler, I want to find the comment here. Maybe I won't find it. But Sean, I can't find it. But Sean said, hey, what did you guys think of the Chris Jericho Dalton Castle match? And so let's talk about that. And also let's parlay that into the story progression, next chapter in this Daniel Garcia thing.
Oh.
You go first, since I
thought we were going to do the Ocho thing. That's what I thought we were talking about. So, yeah, I mean, was it really a continuation of that? I mean, he was just kind of there, looking like he was part of Inner Circle /JAS,
Well, yeah. I didn't say it was a good continuation.
Yeah. He's merged into the traffic. He should have had a purple bucket hat because he was kind of in Jake Hager mode of kind of just being there and being a guy, which is interesting. There's been no reporting on it, but it feels like from the promo where Bryan Danielson is saying, like, do you want me to team with Daniel Garcia? And the whole crowd cheering yes, like this guy's a huge star, to him being the seventh guy on stage with Chris Jericho as he's coming out there putting 8 fingers up is a fall from grace that, you don't hope someone did something backstage, but like, that's the only thing that makes sense to me is that he pissed off somebody and they changed things.
Epic fall from grace.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what I was thinking about or not, I guess, that Daniel Garcia was up there on that potential upper echelon of guys in the company. Now he feels like where he was a year ago. So
I don't know what happened with that. I mean, I thought it was a weird decision back when they did it. And now when you add what happened last week with Garcia and you add that into the backstage interview thing with Renee Paquette, Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta, it now seems like there's like this dissension with Yuta and Danielson rather than that duo and Garcia. So when you guys say, oh man, I'm worried about MJF, I totally can understand that because you're seeing it right here with this story. Like Daniel Garcia I don't think, like, calling him a breakout star to be at the top of AEW, I don't think he's ready for that. But I do think he could be a guy that you could pin ROH to, and have Jericho put him over at Final Battle. That seemed like the obvious choice to me as to this is what we're going to do with this guy and go with him. I mean, it's kind of bizarre where they're at right now. And then Dalton Castle comes in. I think the ratings plummeted during that quarter hour. Somebody check me on that. Azan, I'm looking at you. I think they plummeted, and I think you add all of that together, and now you have, once again, a really messy picture with ROH and Ring of Honor and the world title. It's just disappointing. It's like, I think the story with Chris Jericho and Ring of Honor can work. And I think Jericho is the right guy to be the kind of poking the ROH bear, if you will. But if people are really going to care, people care about, like, Jericho wrestling Bryan Danielson because it's Bryan Danielson. But once you start going down the rabbit hole of Ring of Honor world champions, and if he's going to continue to pick them off, like, you got to, like, I don't even mean backstory, but like Dalton Castle has to matter for it to ring true, like, to have any impact. Because to Sean's point, it's like, I don't know who Dalton Castle is. Okay, I guess he's the Ring of Honor world champion, but he got beat, and that's it. Like, I don't think that you can get a lot of depth out of that unless you really frame Dalton Castle in a brighter light than they did this past week. That's my take. I didn't think the match was awful, but I didn't think it had any drama because you knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I think the first thing you can do to put Dalton Castle over is have him show footage of him pinning Cody Rhodes. That's how he won the ROH World title.
Oh my God, right.
And they already showed, Seth Rollins, or they showed Tyler Black, they showed Kevin Steen, they showed Cody Rhodes. Like, they showed all these guys. They showed CM Punk, right, of, like, the former champions. And, like, you've got the footage. I'm certain you can show it. And you already showed all these other people that are good and not good within your company, whatever. Just show that to, like, give him a little credibility, have Ian Riccaboni talk about him. Also, did they mention at all that he broke his back? Because, like, no. That's why, Dalton Castle was a tremendous wrestler. I think he still is. He's a good power suplexer, as you saw, like, in his character, not for everybody. I love it. Shock. I know. But, like,
I like it too.
That character is a niche character, right? That's a Danhausen. That is a, I don't know who else. It's an Orange Cassidy, right? There's fun stuff going on with good wrestling intermixed, but I knew that's just like, I'm glad I wasn't watching it live or doing a post show, because I was like, I didn't want to spend 2 hours defending Dalton Castle, because, like, I said, like, that's not for everybody, right? And if you're Tony Khan, you have to know that. Like, if you ask me Tuesday at 7:30, like, hey, is Dalton Castle going to get over with his normal gimmick? I'm like, hell no, he's not going to get over with his normal gimmick, because that's for, like, 50, 100,000 people that love that stuff, that love that weird part of wrestling. They want to watch the Gentleman Jarvis, or Redacted, I should say, versus Orange Cassidy, where he's doing the lullaby thing, where he falls asleep and he submits him because he shook him to sleep like a baby. There's a spot for that in wrestling. Probably not against Chris Jericho for a world title on AEW Dynamite, but all that being said, you know where it's going, and it's not enough backstory, too much ROH, same old song and dance. I'm just glad it wasn't the main event. Last week, where you thought the main event was good. It was the 9:00 hour match, and then the main event was Pac and Orange Cassidy, which was odd. So at least it was here and not put as the top thing on the show. But the same sort of points that are negative are all kind of there. So
what do you make of the Daniel Garcia thing? Like, is this because they announced Final Battle. Mm-hmm. That was the other ROH news of the week. Final Battle, December 10th, I think.
At 3, which is a great time for Tony Schiavone. So
beautiful. Beautiful.
That was so funny. So
someone's listening to us about these afternoon shows.
Yeah.
But Samoa Joe's all over the marketing on that. Mm-hmm. So, like, this is not breaking news, but I'm like, all right, are they building to, like, Joe and Jericho, And so because of that, because they got clearance to do that match and Joe can work and they got the pay-per-view sorted out, do you think that that Tony Khan just kind of got a little trigger shy with Garcia and was like, okay, that made sense 2 weeks ago, but now we got the pay-per-view, Joe's ready to go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go on that. So Daniel Garcia back in line.
I mean, I hope not. That's like the worst excuse. Because I don't think that match is going to be very good. Jericho and Joe, right? Like, yeah. That's like both guys need the other performer to be the better worker, right? That's just a condition of age and injury history and et cetera, right? Like Joe is perfect against somebody that can like run around and take a bunch of bumps and for 10 minutes and they can take the muscle buster at the end. Like, I don't think Jericho's taking a muscle buster to win in that match. Maybe he will, but like both of them need the other person to be better, as I said. So, and just like, if you were going to do that, just like wait till the next ROH pay-per-view, have Jericho beat Joe and every other former Ring of Honor champion that you can physically get in there, except for Loki, probably. I would not add him to.
Yeah,
anything.
You might
but,
not. Austin Aries too.
Yeah. There's a checkered history for all champions of past companies, I guess. But so that just seems like a lazy excuse to me. And I'm not saying that it's inaccurate, but to me, it just makes more sense that he did something. But I guess I don't know. It's hard to tell. Either way, I'd love some reporting on that. Anyone out there in the ether can get that for me. But it is strange no matter what. But either way, unless it's like some sort of personal behind the scenes thing that came out or will come out, or some interaction that was not approved, etc. It's just doesn't make any sense. You could have him align with Bryan Danielson, do some stuff, and then come back to Jericho, even if you didn't do it right away.
Right.
So,
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, you're right. There was no need to rush it either direction. So yeah, Nigel McGuinness, to Steve's point here, would be great. But yeah, I don't know that he's healthy enough to go.
Well, I think it's like I think it's like a health thing, right? I don't know if we can.
Yeah, no.
There's a reason he's not cleared, because it's he can't be bleeding, basically, right? And because he's got a blood-borne disease. So
yeah, I don't think he can. This thing, I just don't think he can go. As fun as that would be to see, but it's been a while. I mean, he hasn't been in the ring in quite some time.
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, he'd be a good choice, but I don't think it's going to happen, Steve.
Yeah.
Now he just was released from his contract, Robert. Just probably I think 2 weeks ago or something like that. Recent. Okay, let's pivot over to WWE and talk a little WWE here for a bit. Monday Night Raw this week had some decent stuff on it on paper, in terms of some matches, So you had Riddle versus Seth Rollins for the United States title. You had AJ Styles and Dominic. Not a 5-star classic, but a decent little match on paper, just because of the stories that are going on. So with that being said, though, for as good as the card was on paper, and we talked a little bit about this off air, I don't think it delivered really at all. I think it was a big step back. I think, as you put it, a step backwards from where they were last week. And you're not going to have home run weeks. I get that. And you didn't have the season premiere or whatever that is behind it. But, I just think we saw a lot of stuff kind of pop up that didn't stay flush with the tone that we've seen develop for the last couple of weeks. Elias being one of them. That guy, oh my goodness. We got to be done with this. We have to be done with the Elias thing. My head is going to spin off like a top.
You're trying to send him to NWA as fast as possible.
Yeah, right. Yes. Go to the NWA, sing your little heart out. But yeah, so I wasn't a fan of the show. I just wasn't.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot of a lot of bad habits were popping up again, and that's kind of is the same thing that I've harped on in the past here, and it's mainly the Miz and Loomis, for example, is something that could main event a Raw and feel like that's about the quality level that it is, right? And to just like keep kicking that can down the road to then do it at a later date is frustrating. That's a bad habit. Just the JBL in general. I don't know who thinks JBL is like worth any viewership whatsoever to anybody. I mean, there's somebody out there in the chat. If you love JBL, let me know. And I know he's a heel, right? But like he's got go away heat big time, and he has had for 20 years, I think. And then to kind of have Corbin come out and don't really talk about why you're repping this guy, and he's just kind of the same guy.
Like a goof too.
Yeah, like that was like strange, but there's some stuff like I know people didn't like the distraction win that Dominic got on AJ, but I think it helps build AJ can take the loss and Dominic can win, so I didn't have a huge problem with that. But just stuff like that. It felt not as impactful as the previous couple of weeks, and for all the faults, if you didn't like Dalton Castle on AEW, at least MJF is doing interesting stuff, and it feels important. And here it felt like a vast majority of the show was just trying to get through the 3 hours, and that's kind of been my problem as of late, or not as of late, but in general with Raw. And this just was a poor episode on that front, but there's still good stuff in there. But I don't know. It felt like AEW with the women's match, though. That was like a half-hearted performance in there as well. So
yeah, no, I think I don't know that I could say it much better than that. There's parts of Raw that I like. I like the Lashley and Lesnar stuff. I thought that worked. Yeah. I don't like that. Excuse me. I don't like that they're paying this off of Crown Jewel. I think that sucks. But I don't necessarily need to rant on that more today. But that was a good angle. I think part of I like Mustafa Ali too. I thought he had a really good night out there with Seth. My biggest problem with Raw may be Seth Rollins. Like I just don't know. I don't know. Call me old fashioned, but what he's doing out there is completely counterproductive to the product. Like, and it's obnoxious. Like, it's like he's almost like in this like Sammy Guevara land of just wanting to get pops, for no matter what, heel pops, babyface pops, doesn't matter. And it's just, I think it's just obnoxious to watch him like conduct the song and then rail on the audience because he said something that's heelish. He's one of the biggest stars on the show. And I think when you have one of your biggest stars on the show that disconnected from like being a strong character and an effective character for your show, just because you have him out there, it doesn't mean anything. I think he's hurting Riddle with this. I think he's going to hurt Mustafa Ali with this too. And it just drives me nuts. And he's a great worker. There's no doubt. But I would love to just have him show some integrity with the gimmick and, pick a damn lane and stay in it. And then, make a whole bunch of money there.
Yeah. No, I think, and that's why when we're talking MJF, maybe subconsciously I brought up Seth Rollins for a reason, because I feel like he is that like heel that is trying to be a heel, even though he shouldn't be, but also is like leaning on all the poor qualities, like what MJF could be as a worst case scenario with his character of like, basically Seth Rollins is MJF in Long Island as his entrance, and then he tries to then be MJF in Buffalo the next week. That trajectory of him coming back and doing the lard ass thing. That's just what that character is, and it hurts, and also doesn't help for people that follow it that know that he is the champion because they didn't want Lashley to lose and have Lesnar have to be the U.S. champion, right? So like to have him just like be their champion because of a match you're going to have in Saudi Arabia is also just like not great in the long run. And it is counterproductive. It feels like, a lesser version of the Rollins character before the burn it down thing caught on and he went babyface again, where it naturally occurred and it worked and it felt like a resurgence of his top guy character in the company, and now it feels like if they did that now, it'd be just kind of like a sad, it'd be like a rock band coming and playing the hits in a stadium, that with a bunch of, it'd be like the Rolling Stones, but not that good. But something like that. It'd be like Def Leppard coming to town and playing the hits. It'd be like, I remember when this was the greatest thing in the world, and now it's
that's well said as usual. Like it just, I don't know. I just look at them and I'm like, this is not like a guy working that just is new and is trying to find his way. Like, this is not that guy. Like, he should know better than this. Like, he really should. And if he doesn't, that's a big problem. But the thing is, I think what drives me the most crazy is that he does and is just doing it anyway. And I think it's I think there's a time and a place to kind of be like this tweener type act, and rarely does it actually work. But in this instance, it's just, it's like, as Sir Fark said, turn off is a big way. I'm just like, God damn, really? Like, all right, Seth's coming out. Like, okay.
Yeah, and he's just like so key to the show, right? I mean, him and Judgment Day and and Riddle and Lashley, and then Bianca, right? That's kind of been like Raw every week is going to have some combination of those people. And if you were to rank all of them, like Seth is the one that is doing the same thing week in and week out with no alteration really whatsoever besides his outfit. And it's not super beneficial for the show. I mean, that's, I think, my biggest thing as again, a big fan long-term of his character. This is probably the worst character he's done. And also it's just like so much the same over and over again that I zone out if it's on the TV, because like, I get it. Like, you're not the Messiah, but you're basically doing, I don't know. Like, if he were on the show here and allowed to say whatever he wanted, like, could he describe his character to us right now and defend it? Like, because I don't think he could, and I think that's a big problem.
I don't think so. Yeah, because he's like, what the visionary, the revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell does all that shit mean? Like,
basically, he just wants to bury younger guys, or younger in terms of how long they've been in the company, coming in and trying to steal his clout is what the character is. But it's like there's no baseline for that. You have to. It's kind of like Bray Wyatt, where you have to fill in the dots yourself to make it make sense, and that's never a good thing.
I think he's always kind of been that way. Like I think he had a really good run there for a while, and they could have went with him, but they didn't. They went a different direction. But like, even when like he was like Seth freaking Rollins, the baby face, it was like, okay, what is that? Like, I don't know that at any point could he say, hey, I'm this, but there's been times where I think he's been closer to that than others. But he's just kind of lost right now, man. I don't know. Okay, I want to get to some questions here. Zach in Texas sent me some Twitter stuff. So let's get into this. I'm going to read it all first, and then we can break it down a little bit. And then we'll ride off into the sunset after that. He says, so today's another day where I'm not going to be able to watch live, but I have a question or two on each side of the ledger. Regarding AEW, is the heat off Tony Khan whenever it comes to ROH storylines now that it appears that there will be an ROH TV show starting sometime in January? What say you?
Did I miss this? Is this confirmed anywhere?
No. So Zach, I'd say that
is this reported anywhere? I guess is even my
no. It's been reported that he hinted at that there's some potential news about ROH coming soon.
Okay. Tony Khan did.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's it. And so my thing is, I think Zach, you're projecting a little bit. We don't know that that's the case, but we can have some fun here. Let's just say that it is. Is the heat off him?
I would say no. I think you still have to live with like the past of, I think if you were to take 2022 AEW and, if you were to do an Observer Awards for like best part of AEW, worst part of AEW, I think the top two things that would be the vote getters for worst of AEW are the stuff that happened at All Out and then the ROH integration into AEW. I think would be easily the top two worst things in the company. And you can't just get away from that, because in 2023 you might have a show that then puts it on its own field, and then we also have to see what that would look like, right? Is Jericho losing on December 10th to not be part of that, right? You would want Jericho to be the headline of that to get that off the ground. So a lot of questions still to be asked there, but no, I would say the short answer is no.
Yeah, and I would agree, and I think I'd be even a little harsher, like a resounding no, like, because I don't think that ROH is.
And he's here, so he's a liar. He could watch live.
Yes. Okay. Good. He can defend himself in the chat. I would say resounding no, because even if you take out the nonsense of it just doesn't make sense in the AEW ecosystem, I think that this has hurt the ROH brand too, because you got a whole lot of people that are like that. If you know ROH, right, and want it to like be more than it is than how it's treated in AEW, you know, you don't have that, because I think you got some frustrated people there. For an AEW audience that has no idea what Ring of Honor is, and maybe could have been an audience that you tap into when you launched the new show, they're frustrated because they don't know what the hell it is. So you don't have those people thinking highly of ROH either. Then for everybody else, you still have ROH defined as like the secondary title in every single division of things that are happening on AEW. It's the second world title. The TV title is second to TNT Championship. The tag team titles are second to the AEW tag team title. So it's just like, I don't think it's presented well to capitalize on the million viewers that watch AEW on a week-to-week basis. And that would have been your baseline. That would have been your baseline go-to viewers there. And I just don't think that was cultivated in the best way possible. So I would agree.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, we pivot to WWE. When it comes to WWE, I've got two questions. Would it not have made more sense for JBL to form a new $1 million corporation with Corbin as the center instead of his shtick that makes it seem like Corbin is a new prospect just debuting on Raw? And then we'll go that first, and then we'll go number two.
Yeah.
I don't like the JBL stuff at all. Like, I mean, he may get some heat with Corbin, but I don't think it's like Corbin got that kind of heat anyway. You know, I think that the best case scenario is that maybe Baron Corbin gets a little more credibility that he had before, because you've got this Hall of Famer or whatever talking you up a bit. And maybe some of that like comedy heel stuff subsides, but I don't know that he'll be able to wash that stink off. So, $1 million corporation, like, nah. Like, I mean, it'd be fine. It's not that I'd be opposed to it, but I don't think that there's value in that or what they're going to do here with him anyway. So it's kind of it's not really answering your question, Zach, but I guess it shows what I think of the JBL Corbin angle.
Yeah. I mean, my snarky answer would be it'd be good for JBL to not be on television and just be at home and not be part of WWE in general. But, you know, if you want to be positive like Zach is being here, that's a better idea than what was presented on television. I think the best idea would be to take Corbin and one other person and kind of do like a recreation of the APA sort of thing. And just like have people hate on them because, you know, and they could have, you could do that whole angle and be like the hated version of it, version 2.0, like you had with so many things that didn't work in WWE in the past, right? Where you have the second thing of whatever, the second Midnight Express, the second whatever else. There's probably tons of options here that I'm missing out on the table.
35th Four Horsemen.
Yeah. So you do all that to know that you're going to get like tons of heat, probably not good heat, but at least constructive heat, as opposed to like JBL just being like, I love this guy, he's great, which is the laziest way to present this for a guy that doesn't need someone to talk for him too, which is like the confusing part. So, but
I like it. At best case, it's a credibility booster, and maybe it changes the tone around Corbin, but I guess I just don't think it changes his place in the card. I don't think it changes his reaction. I don't think it changes much. At least not right now.
Yeah. I mean, I could argue that Baron Corbin's entire career is essentially a rib on Baron Corbin. So this would track with that thesis.
I kind of want to see you argue this point.
I mean, if we maybe a long form video one day, but at least right at the point where he lost where he didn't cash in, where he cashed in and failed the Money in the Bank, definitely from that point forward, is a just a whole rib on him, and really his hair being the way it was and not cutting it. Probably wasn't allowed to cut it for a certain reason. Not being able to wear a shirt, I'm gonna guess. All that sort of stuff just feels like big VKM rib energy on a guy. So,
yeah, he's had. I mean, it's so funny because, you can say, "Hey, boy, Corbin, what he's had what a wretched career."
Here's what I found.
Okay, what a wretched career that he's had. But you could also say, like, he would probably tell you though, if I told him that, he'd be like, "Hey, man, I've been in the biggest wrestling company in the world for 6 years now. I've been on multiple WrestleManias. I retired Kurt Angle. I've got all sorts of checks and Money in the Bank. Like, joke's on you, bro. Joke's on you."
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And I got it, he's like a Miz 4.0. Like,
yeah, I would say the character of Baron Corbin is a rib on that. Like, the person, I don't know his shoot name.
Yeah.
But that guy, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't trade places with him. I'm happy where I am. But like, if I was a wrestler and if I could do that versus like just working the indies for 30 years, hell yeah, I'd be Baron Corbin. I'd be jumping for joy to be Baron Corbin. So,
absolutely.
It just feels like
everybody should.
Yeah, it just feels like a vessel in the past and for almost the whole length of his career is to be like, it'd be funny if we did this. Get out there, Corbin. We're going to make you literally happy Corbin and sad Corbin because it makes me laugh every time I see you come out there. Like, and that
you're going to be sad Corbin. Now you're going to be happy. Like, what the hell is that crap? That's just so bad. So. All right. Last question here from Zach. I know how much you love him, Zach, but Dominic Mysterio is an objectively bad wrestler. 2 years in, and his offense on Monday consisted of punches, kicks, and the saddest three amigos in history. Is his heat really worth sacrificing the credibility of a living legend like AJ Styles, especially if he's not improving in the ring? So I'm going to take this one first because, I mentioned by name. First of all, I don't love Dominic Mysterio. Okay, I want to call that out. I don't love Dominic Mysterio, but I do think that he's brought value. Like, he's brought value to the Judgment Day faction. He's been a part of a compelling story and like a central part of a compelling story on Raw with his dad, with Ray. And I think even like if he's not the best wrestler in the world, he's delivering in moments where he has to be a part of the faction and the story. And so you got to feed it. You have to feed that and you got to give it some life if you want it to turn into anything. Otherwise, it just is nothing, which is what Judgment Day was for a long, long time. And so I think there is value in feeding that Judgment Day Dominic beast because it's a big part of Monday Night Raw. Like, think about it. Their segments are up and down the show, like multiple segments every show, every week. So give him something, like give it some credibility, give it a win. And the bottom line is AJ Styles didn't lose any credibility. Dominic won this match. He won it clearly with underhanded tactics and shenanigans and BS. Like, everybody saw it. AJ reacted that way. So Dominic is going to talk about this win as a heel should. Everybody's going to know that he's completely full of it, as they should towards a heel. And, but you do have a win that he can talk about. And there's value there. AJ Styles doesn't lose anything. So when I balance those two, I'm like, well, yeah, give this thing that needs momentum some momentum. Put some juice behind it. I had no problem with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say as a additional point is, can you think of what's the most important thing AJ Styles has done? Not the person, not whatever, just like this is how WWE values him as a character, right? Post Boneyard match, what has AJ Styles, has been a big thing that he's done in the last 2 years? Can you think of even like I'm sure people can think of feuds that he's been in, but I think if you were to rank like people that WWE's valued since that moment, he's pretty low on the list, right? So you have to take that as a fan and realize whatever we think of AJ Styles and what he's meant to the company, to wrestling in general, that's just how he's slotted currently, and that is what it is. But Dominic and Ray, that story's been told just as long since that Boneyard match. Basically, it's been told for 2 years. They finally pulled the trigger on it. You cannot just like throw it away instantly. And yes, could you have him defeat someone other than AJ Styles? Yes. No way to talk about that. But as you said, like, it's just a WWE finish. He got screwed. No one thinks that AJ Styles is worse than Dominic Mysterio in WWE, right? If they were to wrestle cleanly in a vacuum with no interference, AJ Styles wins 100 times out of 100, right? Is the way they are presented as characters. But you got to think of this as you got to build Dominic in the story to take on Ray at WrestleMania one-on-one. And that could be a top 4 match at a 2-night WrestleMania, which is something that it's not guaranteed, but it's got the possibility to be it. In the ring, it won't be because Dominic is not a good performer, but the character is intriguing. I enjoy to see what he's doing. I think his stuff with Rhea is comical and interesting at the same time, right? So, it all just to sacrifice AJ. If that was Gable instead, I probably would feel the same way that I feel about it happening to AJ. Like, it's kind of got to happen to somebody, and it just happened to be AJ.
Right.
So.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And I think that you could like, AJ Styles had a pretty good run. Like, he was a champion for a long time.
Yeah. James Ellsworth.
Yes, he worked with James Ellsworth.
I'm just kidding. I love AJ Styles, so I'm not trying to. But yeah.
No, but I mean, I think like. I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me to like. I get what you're saying, Sean, in terms of like, man, he could have done so much more, and I think he could have. But at the same time, too, if you would have said in 2015, "Hey, AJ Styles is going to be in WWE, and this is the run that he's going to have," I don't know that I would have believed you because of Vince McMahon and just So I think he's had a pretty decent run, but the run's over. Like, he's a utility guy now. And so you couple that with the fact that he didn't lose anything with how Dominic won this match. And, Dominic's ceiling, I don't know. I mean, I think he's probably at it, like, right now is what I'd say. Like, I think he's, until he shows some growth in the ring and some just being able to stand on his own, I think this is his ceiling. But, they've got an angle going here. They got a story going here that they're telling. And so you go with it. And so even if this is his ceiling, you see it through and get the, pay it off, get the business out of it in the end at WrestleMania or whenever, or, what have you. But just because his ceiling isn't high doesn't mean you don't give him the win there. My take, my 2 cents.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, his ceiling, I don't know when Ray's contract is up, but if Dominic is released in 6 months after that, I wouldn't be shocked.
No, right. That's what I'm saying. This is not I'm not advocating for this because I'm a Dominic fan. I'm advocating for it because it's a big story. It's it's with a faction that's central to Raw, and so yeah, you got to feed that. You got to give that something. That's my 2 cents. All right, man, we went long. I got to run and get the kiddos. So thank you everybody who joined this week. It's been a blast. Great conversation, you guys in the chat. Respectful conversation when there's disagreements too. So I like seeing that. So that's great. But for Zach and Steven and Sean and Bryant and Dr. Ross and Joel and Sir Fark and Tracy and everybody else who joined us live and who will watch this on demand, thank you for being here. We will be around tomorrow to preview SmackDown, and then we'll go into the weekend, maybe with an interview or two. I'm not sure yet, so more to come as far as that goes. But follow us on Twitter, @ZHateOrangeTorch, @Ring of Tyler. You can follow our brand at PWTorch on Twitter. And also, if you haven't, subscribe to the channel. That'd be a big help for us, and we very much appreciate it. Yes, no, I don't. I have to think about that a little bit, but yeah, no, Steven, I know. Thanks, Tyler. Man, always a blast, dude. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good.
Peace.